Okay, now we're getting into the juicy stuff, everyone. We're going to 8.4, adding and subtracting rational expressions. And by the end of this lesson, you should be able to add and subtract rational expressions, which is a little bit more difficult than multiplying them and dividing them, I feel. Okay, now let's just do a quick refresher on how to add fractions, because that's kind of useful, knowing how to do that. If you don't know how to do that, the other stuff I'm going to teach you today is going to make zero sense. So the first step for adding fraction is to get a common denominator. We got to get a common denominator. Fractions that don't have common denominators cannot be added or subtracted from one another. Okay. So then once you get a common denominator, add or subtract the numerator. Leave the denominators the same. Don't add the denominators as well. That's some big mistakes. And then finally simplify it down. So let's give this a shot. Right here I got 1/3 plus 1/6. Step 1 says get a common denominator. Well, okay, I'll do that. To do that, I need to make this 3 like the 6 by multiplying it by something. So I multiply by 2, but I can't just multiply the bottom by 2. I got to do the same thing to the top. And why do you have to? Because this 2 will cancel out that 2 like you didn't do anything anyway. Okay? So we got 2 times 1 on top there, 2 times 3, which is 6, plus 1/6. Do we have common denominators now? You bet we do. So let's move on to part 2. Add or subtract the numerators, leaving the denominators the same. Thus, don't add them. So we know, because we're not adding our denominators, the denominator is going to be 6. Okay? And then we just got 2 plus 1. 2 plus 1, which is equal to 3/6. And that is equal to 1/2. There we go. We just added those 2 fractions right there. Let's do the same thing with this one right here. This one's a little bit harder to find the common denominator. Sometimes the easiest thing to do is just multiply one by the other one and the other one by the other one, if that makes any sense. So we're going to take this 4 and we're going to multiply 5 by 4. But when I do that, I have to multiply the top by 4 as well. And then this 5 right here, we're going to multiply the 4 by 5, but we have to do the same thing to the top as well, because then we're not changing it. We're really just multiplying by 1. Okay, now let's rewrite this whole thing. We have 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8, over 4 times 5 is 20. We've got our minus. 1 times 5 is 5. 4 times 5 is 20. Thankfully, we got our right common denominator right there. And now we're just going to do some subtraction. So we have 8 minus 5 over 20, which is just 3/20. Can we simplify that down, you're asking yourself? No, you can't. So that is how you add and subtract fractions. We're going to use this idea, this process kind of, with adding and subtracting rational expressions.